Hey, welcome back everyone. Rob here from Ram Studio Comics. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the pattern that I made there for Homelander. This is him having some fun. 4th of July is coming up. He's feeling festive, lighting some fireworks amongst other things. So basically, I want to show you that. Obviously, give you a glimpse into this piece right here. Also, keep in mind, if you're into this sort of thing, I've got a new class on Skillshare where I walk you through this illustration, but I talk more about developing style. So I know it's kind of a crazy face and I go through a lot of like little rendering things, but I tell you about the thought process and why I make decisions like that and how I try to propel my style forward by experimenting with all sorts of things. And there's going to be more classes on that kind of topic on Skillshare, Udemy, stuff like that. So let's jump into this one. I'm going to first go back because I actually copied and edited some of this one of Homelander here. So let me see if I can get us to the part where I can show you how to do these little patterns. They're actually pretty easy, and what's neat about it, you see this one isn't finished, and I added some other effects over it. It's just a little eagle, and I think on his actual suit design, it's more detailed, but this is what I went with. But it's actually pretty easy to accomplish, and somebody asked this question, and I thought, well, better way to answer it than just make a video on it. So it starts off kind of slow, but then as you progress, you can make areas of it and actually distort them into place. So what I'll do is I'll toggle these ones off, and I'll just show you from the start here. I don't think I saved one of those little eagles, but I want to show you from the very beginning. So what I would do is I would add like a layer over top. Let's just drop in a flood coat, almost like you're overlaying a transparency. I'll do a 2-finger tap. I'll swipe over just so I can see what I'm working with, all right? And then as I get in here and draw, I like to add the grid for stuff like this. And I'm not going to look at that other one. I'm just going to make my own little design here, but a stylized eagle head. You could really make, obviously you could use this for all sorts of effects. And this doesn't have to be for logos. I find it to be very helpful for logos. But you can do it for all those like little textured patterns, like on Captain America, it would be something like this, right? And you would just make one of those and copy it. So I'll show you that with this, but yeah, it's just a huge time saver. So it feels like it's slow at first, but it's really not. So you got to kind of think about your center line. Let's bring the head over to about where center might be using one of these grid lines, and then I'm going to just draw out the wing, something like that. And what's the tail look like? Something like this. See, I'm just kind of picturing center, and this is just a sketch of it, by the way. So now let's go ahead and duplicate that. Let's flip it. Let's align the center lines. Erase back any weird artifacts. So, like this, and then this needs to come over. I'm going to merge those together. Tap, merge, erase the center line. And you see, it's less than perfect, but it gets us a start, and you can modify from here. The head's too big. Well, the head doesn't need to be exactly center. It's asymmetrical, but something like that. The tail's way too big, and you could just play around with this with your heart's content. I'm going to leave it because as a pattern, it's got to really have some sore thumbs for it to look horrible. So I'm going to toggle this way back, swipe over, and then I'm going to draw over it again. I'll use more of an ink line now. And I really could just use the symmetry tool. So let me, it's just easy enough to copy. I'd rather have the straight lines. So what I do here, it's just nice and easy. Pull a curve, hold it. Let Procreate do its thing for straightening out the lines. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. Depends on how critical you want to be. Now if you're going to fill this in, you only need to worry about your outside line, right? You don't need to worry about the inside line. So you kind of pay attention to that as well if you're going to fill it in. If you're not, then obviously you got to pay attention to both sides of your line. And I would really recommend you take your time here and get this just right, because it's going to be your pattern for here on out. Like, especially if it's a character you redraw all the time, you know, you should definitely take your time and design this just right, just like a logo. I want that curve there. So with this, I think if you go curve and it's too slight, it wants to straighten it, but not always. See, there it worked, and I can hit edit shape and I can grab these little points. Absolutely love this feature. It's almost like working with vector art, but it's not a vector. I don't think this supports vectors. Pretty sure it doesn't. And then I'm going to move this over. Notice it gives you these little lines when it's aligned, so that's cool. Get that just right. You can tap to one side and it moves that over for you. See that? Tap, 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 tappity tap, tippity tap. All right, so there's that. Let me draw the head separate. I don't know why I feel, oh, I can't. Well, let me merge these together first. Now I'll draw the head separate. Running out of layers there, folks. Yeah, see how if it's just a slight curve, it wants to bring that to a straight line. So you sometimes have to tell Procreate, no. No, Procreate. No. Bad. Bad Procreate. It listens. It really does. Okay, so now let's bring this line down here. Again, you can use that straight line feature, which I absolutely love about this. Saves a lot of time. And then connect it. Now, I think I did mine as an outline. No, I filled it in. Okay, so I'm going to fill this in. Oh, at least I thought I was. Yeah, I forgot I did that on a separate layer. Come on, Rob, get with the program. Okay, so there's that. And, you know, again, I would really take my time to go back and edit this. I can make the erase the same brush, be really critical, because I'm not wasting time when it comes to making a pattern. You know, you're better off getting this part right, because it's going to go on to everything else. I think I kind of like that bump there. I didn't want that to be there, but maybe I would put that little bump. Is that more like a hawk? I don't know. Anyway, so now we've got our pattern, right? And you're like, oh, it's taking forever. Hurry up. I know. But it's going to save you from drawing all those little ones, which is amazing. So make sure you're on uniform. Scale it down. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one, because we're going to need... I'm going to have to get rid of some of these other ones, because I'm going to need some room for layers. Hopefully I don't need these later. I'm going to be in trouble. Something like that. Okay, that should be plenty, hopefully. So now what I'd like to do is generally, well, for one, I actually like to save one of these at full size, because it keeps the image resolution. You got to remember, raster-based graphics are always in relation to the size of the file, and therefore the size of the art in comparison to the size of the file. So yeah, there's that. And then from there you can scale it down. Now, if you zoom in, it's still pretty clean, then you're good to go. But just kind of maybe keep an eye on that. So I'm going to scale it down to what size I want the pattern to be. I'm going to bring it over to these lines here. Line it up like so. Yep, that's good enough. I'm going to duplicate this a couple times on accident, I guess. I'm going to move that over. And obviously I was looking at the suit from the character from the show. And see how the tail dips down in between the two wings? I think I got that from there. I'm pretty sure. So let's go ahead and try to re-emulate that. Show's awesome, by the way, isn't it? So freaking sick. But anyways, I won't gush about the show. I just think it's pretty cool. And so let's bring that up over to here. And again, same thing about getting this stuff right. You want to just kind of be, you know, relatively critical here, because it's everything you do is going to transpose down the road as you're kind of doing this. So let's see. There was one of these that were overlaid. Where's that sucker? Oh, I thought there was. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this one again. Bring that down. And so I need to figure out, as this drops down, how far would it need to go to the next one? So we got the wings pointed up to here. Well, then I guess the wing here needs to point up to the bottom of the tail there. Okay, so just a consistency in the pattern. And then it should, yeah, it gives us those nice blue lines as we bring it over to tell us that that's all kind of working. And then, so now we've got a pretty good repetitive pattern that we can use. And merge these together. Yep. Let's duplicate that. And so this is really where it starts to pick up steam. And what you want to do is try to find areas that, you know, that line up well, obviously. So you're going to do something like this, where you're looking at the distance over here, and you're matching it over here visually. Now another way to do this, just to show you, it's probably better, even at this stage. I usually do this later, but I'm going to go and show you right now, is you toggle the opacity down like this, and you drag that right over the existing ones. Now it's a slower build up at first, but this is probably a better way to be. Oh, you see, I'm even a little off right there. Son of a. Okay, so how would I correct that? Do I have to start over? Or could I delete one of these? Seems like I could. I'm going to try it. So let's see if this fixes it. Hopefully it does. I don't know why it would, but I'm actually going to try it. So, okay, I guess this is the way I got to look at it. Did I copy a mistake and bring it over? What part of this was a copy? It's this bottom one. So the bottom one is obviously lower by comparison going this way. I don't know if that'll fix it. I'm going to try it anyways, though. So I'm going to take this, and so I'm going to say that the previous one, or I'm sorry, that this one would have the mistake in it. I could be wrong, but I'm going to delete this part by encircling this, encompassing this, doing a 4-finger tap. You might just have to physically delete it on yours. You got to have that set up in your gesture controls. And I'm going to try to continue on like this. I mean, regardless, I don't think any of these minor differences are going to be too bad, but if we can fix things along the way, all the better. But there is a part where you could just say, no, I'm good with a little bit of the pattern being off. No one's going to see it. And you kind of have to play around with this to find out, because, I mean, really, do you see any of those looking too far away from one another? Really don't. So, but let me at least see if we fix that problem. It should become apparent if I overlap again. It's still kind of there, isn't it? Oh, well. I'm going to let it be. I'm going to just go with this. Okay, so you'll see this is about to pick up speed here. And I'd recommend doing, you know, like a page of these or whatever, because it doesn't take much once you get the process going. And again, this works with all sorts of neat, anything that's repetitive in your work. This will work, and it's a huge time saver once you get it right. All right, let me get in closer here. Okay, so I'm looking at the distance from the tail. So right there compared to there. And again, that's probably being too critical, I would think. All right, merge down one more time and we'll call it good. So I'm going to bring this one over. You really want to work out in a square direction, I would say, but yeah, I'll just do this one and then I'll cut off the sides. Oh, make sure you don't resize it. You can see I'm getting less critical here, but I do want to expedite the process for you. Okay, so now if I move that over, you see it already cropped it out. That's just kind of how Procreate is. So you use the edge as a bit of a crop tool. I'm just going to do that to speed it up. Yeah, so I would do a lot bigger area than this, but I want to hurry up and get to the effect that I want to show you next. So now what I personally do, what I did with the the end result of the character is I can toggle off the drawing guide now, and I basically take each one of these areas, and I like to distort them per area. It just seems to look better. And so if I take this, bring this over to, we'll do the shoulder here. And really it does need to be even a little smaller, but when I do the shoulder here, I'm actually going to warp this into place. Now, it actually, they've gotten better with this. I think before I had to use liquefy, which works. You can do that. You can definitely go into here and grab liquefy and work that way. But what they added was warp, which is even better. So you just kind of pull it into these areas. I think this is newer, maybe not. I know this is the way I would do it with Photoshop, so I think I'm just confusing the process for that, because I've done this a ton of times in Photoshop. But I'm pretty sure I'd use liquefy with here, but maybe not. So yeah, so you just distort these, and what you're trying to do, I mean, if you look at these bends here, you want the effect, these are kind of curving up. Think of your wrapping lines when you're drawing. It's a similar kind of thing, right? So you can get this in here, and you may have to play around with the initial pattern size. I'm kind of distorting the birds a little too much here. But it's, you play around with it, you'll see it. It gets a very dimensional kind of feel. And I would do that for each muscle group or, area of the suit, whatever. And do that, and then jump in here with a erase. Erase back to, the lines basically is a good place to stop it. Get the chest here, I'd erase it back to there, the side of the neck here. And then after you got that all kind of working, you can play around with blending modes, fill modes. So I would do a 2-finger swipe over. I would colorize this something that, I think I just used white really, but I'm gonna go ahead and try something else. I'll fill it in like this. Toggle off that white transparency now, and then I can go into here and do something like a color dodge. You see that lets the black lines show through, and also you put this right behind the lines as well, so you don't have to worry about that. But for the blending modes, I would probably do something like add, and then I would also play around with overlaid effects of this. So meaning I would probably start with one. Let's grab a soft erase, and I want the effect that it's rounding over. You see, it just looks like a flat pattern. It's too in your face right there. So I would soften up the edges. You can go as much as to blend it away from, maybe a certain form or whatever. But I would really just, figure out where my high spot is, the highest spot where I want there to be a glare, and I would look at it like that. In fact, this is about where I was looking at one of the shots from the movie, and I noticed that there were glares on these little emblems, just that caught the light a little bit more. I don't know why that one's actually showing through. Oh, because I have the line art set to multiply. So I would just erase this back, even where the line art is right there, because to me, for comic style, it becomes a little distracting. But, it's up to you. And then, you got your opacity here. So you get your blending modes, you got your opacity, you got all sorts of things. You can jump back in here and add little highlights to just the edges of some of the emblems. Yeah, all sorts of ways that you can play around with it. And then eventually, as you keep adding to it with your different effects, you can get it to look more like that. And that's all that was. It's just a series of, oh, you see, I didn't even erase it back there, I guess. But it's just a series of overlaid versions of that. Oh, I heard it. No, I don't have them in this one. At different blending modes, different intensities, and there you go. So at any rate, I know this was kind of a long video for something like that. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you like the artwork. Let me know in the comment section below what other type of content you'd like to see. I'll make sure to get that on the channel. As always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.